with us virtually. We actually usually hold these events at the chamber. So we're happy to, thank goodness for technology that we can still do it in this format. A real few quick housekeeping things as we wait for some others to join on in. Just a quick reminder to keep your mic on mute, and you can utilize the chat box function. We will have time for Q&A at the end, so you can feel free to interject questions as they come. You can save them for the end. Whatever your heart desires, feel free to utilize that at any point. And then something that we also do recommend, I think a lot of people use the gallery view option for these meetings, and that's where everybody's face, you can see everybody next to each other. And when we get started here with programming, if you actually want to try out toggling to the speaker view, that's the one where it makes the person speaking the main part of your screen. So if you want it to feel a little bit more like an in-person event, that's one way that we like to do this too. So it should be, for most people, at the top right of their screen. That's where it shows up for me. So feel free to, toggle with that if you'd like to. There's Luann. Check out that background. Love that. Bailey made us some fun virtual backgrounds since we can't physically be in the office. She made these nice ones, multiple different ones to choose from, so we can act like we're in the office, even we're not in the meantime. And some amazing views. Bailey's is an awesome aerial view of West Des Moines. It's such a pretty photo. We love that. There we go. A few more people joining in here. Awesome. And then really quick before we get started, I know we've got a lot to get to today, but this actually might be the first time that some of you are meeting some of our new team members. So if so, I am so happy to introduce our new chamber team to you. Let's start with our brand new, very innovative president and CEO, Catherine Harrington. If you want to say hi for a minute.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much, Kara. This is an incredible opportunity. I couldn't be happier to serve in this role to help our West Des Moines community, help our businesses thrive and our employees, and really help keep West in the middle of everybody, going, scattering, working from home, COVID. Kara was our only remaining employee, and so we've hired 3 incredible team members, and I'm excited for Kara to introduce them to you. But we have such an expert team. We are having fun, even though we're not together, so we do have this ability to still find joy within, kind of a lot of struggling that we're all going through at the same time. And but it's been a fun ride so far, but we're working hard to really increase the visibility of our West Des Moines companies and really promote what's going on. That's so great, and why West Des Moines is a wonderful place to live, work, and play. So excited for you to lead our conversation this morning, Kara. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, I'm excited. And then we have also got Anna Dowd, if you want to wave. She is our brand new Director of Membership and Strategic Partnerships. And then we've got Bailey First. She is our new Events, Marketing, and Communications Manager. And then we've got Nicole Langmabe, and she's our new Admin and Accounting Specialist. So, and then if I have not had the opportunity to meet any of you yet, my name is Kara Matheson, and I am now the Director of Workforce Development. So that's us. That's our small but mighty team, and it's been a lot of fun working together, even in these crazy, crazy times. So we're very excited for when things kind of return to some version of normalcy, so we can actually be in the office together as a team again. That'll be awesome, as I'm sure all of you are very much looking forward to as well. So yeah, that's us, and we are very excited to be here with all of you today. So thank you to everyone for joining us. This is our first virtual business roundtable. We've had some various different events that we've held virtually now, from networking events to awesome programming like this to a new series called Business Survival Toolkit, where we bring in panelists to talk about topics relevant to COVID-19. So those have been great, and we're excited to be able to continue events like this that are more a part of our regular programming. Business roundtables are something that we try to hold monthly when we find a fantastic story like the one that roundtables throughout the entire year of 2020 would not be possible if it weren't for our amazing presenting sponsor, Bankers Trust. And I believe Rob is this number, this 248. Rob Reiner, is that you? Are you on with us? I think that's a Bankers Trust number. We'll see if we can get him unmuted here. Rob, are you with us? All right.
You have to unmute.
Hello.
Hello.
Rob, I'll give you the podium if you want to say a few words on behalf of Bankers Trust. Thank you so much for making this event possible, even virtually.
No, we're at Bankers Trust, because you do so many great things in the community, and we're in certainly some trying and interesting times, and we're proud of what we've accomplished during the PPP pandemic and PPP loan program and through this pandemic. So we're just happy that we can participate and continue the great efforts that the West Des Moines Chamber is doing.
Awesome. Well,
Thank
we appreciate
you,
it, Rob. Yeah. And quick shout out, Rob is actually the chair of our ambassadors. So thank you for all of your time and commitment with that awesome branch of the chamber as well. We have a group of about 20 or 30 ambassadors, and they are a powerhouse, and they help us with so much stuff, again, as a small team. So thank you for everything that you do throughout the entire chamber world. So speaking of awesome, the reason you're all here today is to hear from Chris and Christine with Christopher's Fine Jewelry and Rare Coins. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with Christopher's at some level. I know at the chamber we absolutely love working with them. They're such a great leader in the community, and they really have an incredible story to tell that we can all learn from as they celebrate their 40th year anniversary, which is very exciting. So congrats for that. But you know, over those 40 years, you go through a lot, and they've been through plenty of transitions as we are all experiencing now more than ever in some form or another. So with all of that, throughout all those years, they've actually managed to gain more success and continue to build on that throughout the years. So it's just so impressive what they've done long-term and short-term. And they're also new to the West Des Moines community, and we could not be more excited to have you here with us now. So without further ado, I'll kind of hand things over to you two so we can hear all your insight and your experiences over the years.
Thanks, Kara. It's really an honor to be here in front of all you guys, and thanks to the Chamber for everything they've done for Christopher's. We're just proud to be a part of this community and all the support that your organization gives our business. I started out 40 years ago, April 1st, April Fool's Day, 1980. And trust me, there's a lot of times I thought, that was some bad karma starting out on April Fool's Day. But I started in Ankeny with just a little coin store, 450 square feet. It was just me and a telephone, no computer, no fax machine. But I was had the bank next to me and the post office next to me. So from day one, you know, I started the business under the premise that I'm always going to provide the best service possible to my customers, be friendly and respectful to my customers, and try to do things differently than what my competition was always doing. So, and I think in doing those things throughout my business career, laid the groundwork for being able to deal with adversity. There, in 40 years in my business, I've, you know, there's a lot of people that like my things and don't have to pay for them. So, but without going into detail on that, was a lot of unique adverse things in my business that I didn't anticipate. But having those core values from day one, I think was key to getting through adversity over the years, and your customers recognize that. You know, you want customers that go out of their way to tell other people about you. If you're doing things like everybody else is and not setting yourself apart and being unique, then you're just like everybody else. And so when things get tough, customers, you know, they may go somewhere else and not have a second thought about coming back to you when things get better. So I didn't know anything about jewelry when I opened up. I thought I knew a lot about coins, but it turns out I didn't know as much as I needed to, but I got through it. Kind of learned the jewelry business on the way. I had 3 different locations in Ankeny. As I segue into the jewelry, I kept expanding the jewelry department. Eventually went from being called Coin Works to Christopher's Fine Jewelry and Coin Works, and that eventually turned into Christopher's Fine Jewelry and Rare Coins. Then I've had 2 locations in Des Moines. The 5th location I was certain was going to be the final one on Merle Hay Road, and that as of recently here, it didn't turn out the case. You know, it was a time for us to make a new transition and separate the 2 businesses. So obviously the jewelry's in West Des Moines, Christopher's Rare Coins is in Johnston. But one of my business philosophies has been that if you're not moving forward and upward, then you might as well be moving downward. We have never stopped improving our business. We've never stopped working to increase our customer base. We've never stopped providing impeccable service and products to our customers. A lot of unique products you can't find somewhere else. And so I think what you do on a daily basis in your business gets you through tough times when they arise. So one of the things that one of the keys, I think, to our success is the key is our people. And I didn't know a lot about how to hire good people when I started out, because I was just a 20-year-old one-man show. And but over the years, I learned that we hired a business success coach. Quite a few years ago, Ernie Moore, and he taught me and Christine the value of preparing for hard times. Okay, so let's say you go through an adverse time. What if this key person is all of a sudden out of the picture? What if me as a business owner is out of the picture? And he basically laid out a roadmap for preparations for every worst case scenario that could come up in your business. Of course, this Corona thing wasn't one of them, but a lot of the things we learned from Coach Moore was having backup plans for almost anything you can think of. And so that was, I think, key to keep going through these hard times right now. So I think that's all I have. That's kind of in a nutshell what I had to say, but I'll let Christine take over from here.
All right, good morning. Yeah, that's a pretty quick nutshell given our our 40-year history and everything that we have become today. So as Chris said, we, at today operate Christopher's Fine Jewelry and Rare Coins under 2 different locations, which has been an amazing thing for us. But this morning, Kara had asked me to speak a little bit about transition and leadership and how we work through that. So I'll take what Chris said and kind of go from there just a little bit. So Chris has been retired since 2013. Evidence this morning of his hat and t-shirt. His wardrobe every day. I love it. So, and we've talked about this is okay to share. So Chris and I, years ago when we worked together still, would have breakfast every Wednesday morning to check in, go over what was going on, make plans. And one morning he said to me, you know, I think I'm done. And I think you can handle this. I'm gonna go home. And I said, what? And he said, no, I think I've been thinking about this, Christine. I've run, you know, heavy and hard for more than 30 years and I'm ready to retire. Okay. So from there, we had some more discussions, and a key point that he and I go back to fairly regularly still is we check in annually. Are you doing okay? Is this still what you wanted? Are we still doing what you wanted? And that's a 2-way conversation. One, Christine, are you okay? Do you still want to do this? How, you know, how is this going for you personally? And for me, Chris, you know, are we still, you know, doing what we should for you, and are we meeting the goals? So open communication, 2-way street is always huge in these types of transitions. This is not the time to think, well, I'll talk to him about that later, or maybe she'll eventually get it, or anytime you're talking about a major transition like this, the most open communication you can have, even if it's a tough conversation and even if it's not the answer. You know, Chris gave me a beautiful gift in this, hey, if this is not what you want and you don't want to do this anymore, you just tell me and we'll figure it out. That was huge to give me just this open space to say, okay, I can take this and run with it, and I have a safety net. And so what we did was run with it. And like Chris said, we kept our business coach super close to us. Our accountant was a huge piece of how this works through. She's more of an advocate for our business and a business advisor than any accountant I've ever met. And key to any small business, having a good accountant that really will ask the tough questions, get to know you, and then kind of help you move forward as you want. So we had an 18-month plan then that we laid out. Okay, if Chris isn't in the business daily, what do we need to know? There were some surprises along the way. I think Coach Ernie told us from the beginning, listen, Chris has just done these things for 30 years, whatever this is, and just by habit. So you need to just stick close to him and learn what he's doing. And so for Chris, it was this, hey, no matter what the question your staff asks you, your favorite new answer is, I don't know, ask Christine. And that gave us some space to, if I didn't know the answer, then I had to go find it. But it really gave us some insight into what he was doing that maybe none of us realized. For instance, our insurance renewed in August while I was on vacation. So I was sitting in Yellowstone with my little bitty iPad trying to get service in a corner, reading this 30-page document, trying to figure out what we're doing, because Chris learned the lesson of, I don't know, ask Christine. So I don't know, ask Christine. So I learned how to handle our business insurance on the road pretty quickly. And that was, you know, an eye-opener, like, oh shoot, he does handle some things that we're just so ingrained in him. So again, open communication was important for us at that point. But in our commitment to move the business forward without him, his long-term picture, what his goal, what his wish for our business was that it would live on to the next generation. He really wanted what we built in our community to be here for our community. We're proud of what the facets of our business are and what we do for our community, and we wanted that moving forward. So I realized fairly early on, I'm not Chris. I don't operate the way he does. I don't have some of the risk-taking abilities that he does. And I realized that if I promised him the business would live past him, that it had to live past me, right? So from there, we built a team. I have a leadership team around me. that is amazing, amazing people that care about our business and are willing to move it forward in those same ways. We built core values around some of our favorite parts, some of the best parts of Chris, what you heard him say, you know, we need to take care of people. And so we really made the business personality Chris's personality. On top of, you know, if you're not having fun, it's not worth doing, or it ain't worth doing, I think is how you say it to me. If you're not having fun. So we added that to it as well. So our business is really Chris's personality, and we all use that daily to make decisions as we move forward. So today we operate as a team of 18. Chris has been successfully home almost 7 years now, and we are where we are today because of the foundation he gave us, but yet learning to step in and take that further with a lot of smart people around us, I think has been kind of the key to keeping that going. So I'll see if we have questions, or Catherine, is there anything else you want us to touch on? I'm happy to.
Yeah, do you want to touch just a little bit on everything that you guys have gone through, you know, with COVID-19 recently, and, you know, how you were able to get creative with what your business plan might normally look like, and how you were able to adjust a little bit?
Sure. So as the business operates under we have three parts to our business. Let me answer that just a little bit because that helps. So the fine jewelry and then the rare coin shop are two separate, and then also estate jewelry. So we do purchase jewelry from people's items that they no longer want or need or may have inherited. So we really handle those three businesses a little bit separately. You know, you have to look at what they're doing. So for our coin department, because under the Patriot Act, that is considered a financial institution, we did choose to leave it open with limited hours because we were really serving the public in a way that they needed at that time. People were looking to do gold and silver deals at maybe a higher rate than they had been previously, not being sure about the market and things. That's always a time that our coin department kind of comes up, is when somebody's concerned about the stock market, or maybe we need to make sure we've got some silver at home in case banking isn't available. So that we've kept open with reduced hours. At the time when everything first happened, one of the most difficult things I've had to do was furlough my sales team, and had to do it remotely. I had to do it on a Zoom call like this. It was awful. It was just awful to get them all on the phone. And, you know, they knew what was happening, and we'd had paperwork put together. We did all the research so we could say, you guys, this is what you need to do to help, you know, get on unemployment right now. We're covering your benefits. You know, we're doing the best we can with the moments we've got here. And each of them said to me, thank you for what you're doing. And I thought, oh my word, you know, they made me cry. So we had to look at what's, you know, how do we protect the business and how do we protect our employees? So furloughing our sales team gave us an opportunity to kind of hold together the jewelry store until it was ready to be open for the public again. So, you know, you watch things going on and what people are doing in the community. And we, as a leadership team, spoke almost daily about what should we do? How do we, you know, engage? People are reaching out to us, texting us on our cell phones. So with our marketing team, our marketing agency, we started talking about, okay, how do we promote? How do we, you know, step in? Just like I'm sure a lot of you in every industry you're in our industry, we were on webinars daily. How do you reach your customers? How do you, you know, how do you hang in there? So that led us to this curbside service that we're having. And now today, so 2 weeks later today, we are doing private appointments. Of course, just watching what the governor says and doing, you know, the best things we can. It took us a little bit to figure out, okay, how do we stay 6 feet apart and show you a piece of jewelry? How do we stand between a counter that's only 2 foot apart? So we really took some time to work that through. Definitely talk to our sales team. Okay, as we bring a couple of you back on, how are you comfortable? What do you need? Here's what we're hearing, our best practices. It just took a lot of really of research on our end to kind of get us to a spot where we felt like we could be safely open via private appointment, still keep our staff safe, and still be safe for our clients.
That's awesome. And I know it's foreign territory that everybody's kind of trying to navigate right now, and it's a work in progress, and it's such a time for out of the box thinking and defying what might have been your norm before. And it looks like, Chris, you have your hand raised. Did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, you know, there's, in the face of adversity, there's always opportunities to take advantage of the situation you're in. You know, there's, you know, a lot of us have more downtime than normal. I think it's important for business people to look at, okay, now what things do I always want to do, say I'm going to do for my business that I normally don't have time for, and use this opportunity to do them. You know, one of the things that's great to do is go to your customer base and thank them for their past business. And maybe even give them some kind of a special offer, some kind of a handwritten note. Have your team send out some handwritten notes to your customers. So when this whole thing blows over, or we find our new norm, whatever that is, the customers still remember you. So I think it's important for business people to take advantage of time that they have to do some of these things that can still help their business and increase their business down the road. Your customers will remember you.
Absolutely. We have a question. What leadership advice would you give to retailers right now as small businesses try to navigate this?
Sure.
time?
I saw that and wondered if you know, and a couple other opportunities we've had to talk to folks. I think, as Chris pointed out, you know, you hire people. I definitely subscribe to the hire somebody around smarter than me. Listen to your team. As a leader, I think it's important that when, you know, it's something completely uncharted and we're not sure, you know, I don't have the answers, nobody does, to listen to your team. You know, we have huddled together and said, okay, we don't know, but what do you think? And that, and my entire team. So as a leader, sometimes they have better answers, you know, or it's a talk through. Here's what I'm thinking. What do you guys think? And know your people. Sometimes a couple of my people, you have to know them. One of them, her first answer is always no. It doesn't matter what it is. Her first answer is no. So I have to know that about her. And then I know she'll think through and then come back and say, okay, here's my thoughts. I have another one that's a deep thinker. Well, he'll say, I need to sleep on it. Okay. So be prepared for conversations to take more than 24 hours sometimes when you know your people. I have another one that's like, okay, let's do it and go. And he said his piece and we're running up the road, right? So I have to balance those folks and know, okay, what do you think? And give you some time. So really to stick closer to them than you ever have, I think is helpful right now. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What thoughts do you have? You know, if they're as invested in your business as you are, they'll have thoughts that are swirling around there, but they need to be asked. I think important to keep them close to you in that way. And I always end with, is there anything else I can do for you? What else do you need? How else can I help? And then they, through practice, but still even during this time, please reach out if you think of something, particularly when you're not all together. Because communication is difficult for different people, especially on these Zoom calls. When you're one that needs to see and be with somebody, it's hard sometimes and takes some extra time. I think those are some things that I've seen that have helped us now be able to think through and be nimble when we needed to be. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask a follow-up question. You know, you talked about how your different individuals on your team have these different ways of handling conversations and decisions. So did learning that just come over time, or did you do DISC or any of those different analysis tests to figure out everyone's personality in that way, or what was your approach to that? Did it just come with time?
Yeah, both. So for our sales staff on the sales floor, we do partner with a separate consulting company that works with our point of sale system, and they do have some sales-driven personality tests that they administer for someone that we're anticipating hiring to make sure that their sales personality fits and they're also a fit with our current team. But for our leadership team, we did the DISC assessments. We did it with Coach Ernie, and from there then really got to build on, okay, here's the base. And on one hand, that is super important to know your people around you. On the other, you can't just take that and say, well, that's just how they are and move forward, because we're always learning, we're always growing, right? So we spent a couple years doing some John Maxwell work together, just working through even the 21 laws, excuse me, of leadership workbook. As a leadership team, we met weekly, and once a month, and each month we would work through a chapter and really then take some time. We went around the room. This week it's, you know, Brian's turn to lead the questions. Next time it was Ian. As we really worked through that book together, I think that helped us grow together, and also then it really stood out, you know, your leadership qualities and how you do things when you're working through that together. It really helped us settle who we were and how we worked together. And we finished that up just as we were making decisions that we needed to either do some updating at our other location, or heaven forbid, we needed to move. So that really helped us come to some conversation and put some smart thoughts to paper before we even took that thought to Chris. So we were really able to work that through together. I hope that answered that. I see there's other questions, so I'm trying to
Yes.
trying to balance that.
Yes, yeah, no, thank you for that. And then we do have another follow-up one. Lorraine asked, she said, Chris mentioned core values. How important have your core values been to help navigate these waters?
Sure, extremely. You know, and that our core values to us, it's not something that we just look at occasionally and say, yes, what we're doing matches up to that. That's really the speak that we have. It's, you know, as you read the copy on our website, it speaks to those values as well. So that's just how we are every day. And doing the best we can for our clients is first, and educating our clients is one of our core values. Educating our staff and our clients is one of our core values. So when you kind of look at that and how is it we are communicating, that's always there. So we just operate in that way. And we did use our consultant. So at the time, Coach Moore did help us bringing all of that together. So he did work that exercise with us. You know, Chris just lived that, and that's just who he is and how he does business. But as we looked towards moving the business forward without him in it daily, how are we still teaching our staff those values and moving forward? So that's where we tied those two things together. At this point, I think there's only 2 or 3 of us that worked with Chris directly. Stephanie some, so maybe 4 of our 18 really have never worked with Chris full time. I'm kind of one of the last, Ian and Brian and I, to really have him in our business where we were able to learn from him. The rest of them are just learning through us, right? And so that was really important to us, that the business itself is its personality is what it needed to be, and then everybody else kind of ties into that. So we keep that moving forward in the future. Without me, then who's the next person that would step in and know this is the business and this is how we do things? They should know that without me too. Yeah.
So then with your core values, was that something that was, you know, from the beginning you had a few and then you built upon them? Is that something that came with rebranding? I know you referenced that you used a consultant. What did that process look like? Was it kind of you identified what's always been some of your core values, since you said some of them are, you know, ones that Chris just embodies? Or was it more of a recommendation from the consultant that helped you identify those?
Yeah, so the first time we came up with that as a formal document was when we did that exercise with Coach, and then really kind of got that in black and white, started internalizing it before we took that a little more public, then worked with our agency as far as writing copy behind that then would become the copy on our website, and how we communicate moving forward. So the first time we did that was when we did that exercise with Coach.
Okay, awesome. And how long was that process of working with that coach? Was it a month? Was it a few month process? What did that look like?
Sure. Well, Chris worked with Ernie privately, or kind of one-on-one, for a few years before, when we were, way back when we were still operating all together. I've worked for Chris. This November it'll be 15 years that we've been together. So he worked with Coach for a while, and then one day kind of thought, you know what, Christine, I feel like some of these things he's saying, like, we could really learn together better if you talk to him too. Okay. So then I started that. And it was, I could see the benefits of really helping us define, okay, this is what we're trying to do. And I feel like we're kind of just spinning our wheels a little bit, and we want to grow, and we want to get bigger. We want to get better. How are we doing this? And he really helped define for us how a plan. And then of course he was our first call when Chris wanted to retire, to put that together. So a lot of that work I did with the core values and building the leadership team, we did then after Chris retired. So our first goal with Coach then at that point was to get him retired successfully, and then move the business forward. And then when we had some strategy sessions, our business coach, our accountant, our marketing agency, all the smart people in the room, right, that you pay good money to have, get all of them together and say, this is what we see for the future, help us get there. And then they really helped us map that out as well.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Another question. So Susan said these are great examples of how the owner can be considerate of staff. What is an example of something you might, what example might you give of a way a staff person has been considerate of or helpful to you besides offering input when they were approached and asked about it?
Mm-hmm. I think when we have a culture of, it's okay to talk to me, it's okay to talk to each other, it's okay to tell me no. I tell Chris no all the time. He'd laugh and tell you, I tell him no all the time. To tell me no or challenge or ask. I have got some of the best people, and I know everybody will say that, but we truly have some of the best people that are really as dedicated as I am to the business and willing to, here's my thoughts, here's what I'm thinking. Very rarely do I have to ask for input. They just give it to me. They're amazing people, and they're always like, okay, I think this is better, or, we looked back at that and that didn't work the way we wanted it to. I want to try this next time. Go for it. So when we have that culture of, we are a team, we're in this together, there is no, this is not Christine's way or the highway, because that just doesn't work. I have lived that for a long time. This is more than me. This is, Chris and I have a dedication to our business, and it's more than me. So that's just our culture that we live out, and that it makes it easier for them to speak up. I would say, if an example of a way they have been considerate or helpful to us. Gosh, they are all the time. I know that seems cliche, but one thing is, when they each have really specific goals, job descriptions, and they're clear on where the business is going. So I, Stephanie, know my job is to do inventory and buyer management and do that really well. And my goals are set in the computer based on what some of these inventory levels are, and we're working to make this better, right? So she knows that. So everything she does is balanced on that. I've been thinking about this relationship with this vendor. They aren't doing this quite as well as they used to. Here's this vendor, I've done this research, and it seems like they're doing it better. Go, that's great, right? So they have to be clear about what they're doing as well, and then that helps them do a better job for us and for the company.
Well, and I think that speaks volumes to the culture that you've built, and there's so many reasons why that can have positive impacts. through and through and through. And you've referenced open communication multiple times. I think that goes along with it too. And it just builds that team environment where people feel comfortable sharing their ideas. And that's where you, again, not to reference these times again, but that's where you really need all hands on deck, all ideas to be thrown out there. And that's how you can continue to move mountains in your business and make things happen.
Yeah.
And I see, Chris, you're raising your hand again. Did you want to add something else to that?
Yeah, just on that same note, you guys covered it, but you have to empower your employees. They have to own their part of your business, and they have to understand that if they're not doing their job right, it's not just about chewing. It's never that. But if they're not doing their job right, or something they could be doing better, it's up to the leaders of the business or the managers to take that person and say, hey, now this is why what you're doing is affecting your buddies here in this business. It's not just you that you're not doing things maybe the way you should, or you could be doing this better just because I say so. They have to understand that everything that they do affects all their fellow employees around them, and it affects the company in certain ways. And then they understand that, and that will empower them to do the best job that they can, and not just be on the recipient of a sharp tongue.
Absolutely. Love that. Well, we've got another good question. Like we mentioned, you guys are celebrating 40 years, which is so exciting. So going off of that, what are your goals for the business for the next 10 years? And do you have a specific plan in place for that?
That's a great question. So after Chris retired and we started this whole new business and moving forward, we made a 5-year plan and 3-year goals. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Gino Wickman and his process, but it's what we built to have a 5-year vision of what we wanted us to look like. And after 3 years in and working through is when we started looking at longevity for the business, and that got us to where we are today, that we needed to move and grow, be where our customers are, be where our future customers are going to be. So that really, with, again, all the help of the smart people in the room, we got to where we are today. It's funny. So over the holiday season, I wandered around our beautiful store and thought, what do I do with myself? We're here and, we're selling things to people, and the store is amazing, and the coin shop has this great new location, and it's beautiful. And I go over there and wander around. I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing with myself? Because we're here now. So that's a fantastic question. Our future, a new 5 and 10 year plan needs to be built at this point, because right now we're just doing day by day. Into the future, I see our store, we're all business people in the room, right? Like growing your sales base and making a profit is what that's about. Publicly to our clients, we serve our clients, we serve them well, we love our clients and want to be here for them in the future. But in this room, you guys, right, like we made commitments financially to move, and I'd like us to sell some more things and probably pay those bills, right? And then at the end of the day, still make some money. So at that point, we are looking, forward to what does a 5-year goal look like as far as sales, and then kind of backing that up a little bit. Our coin department has a little bit different objective in that we still need people locally to know who we are and what we do and why you would do business with us locally. So I would say for the 10-year, obviously growth and development and really a strong base in our community, but we have to work on that yet. So maybe when I get back from the lake, we'll start that.
It looks pretty serene there. Looks like a great place to do some brainstorming while relaxing out there on the deck. That's awesome.
It's lovely.
Okay, we've got another question. You have mentioned some great resources that include 21 Laws of Leadership book, Wickman, who writes on visioning, etc. What other books have maybe inspired you that you would recommend that we read that can be helpful in gaining more success.
Yeah. There's been some fun books, Raving Fans, which I know is an older book. We're shaking heads, yeah. Raving Fans is a quick read, and that talks, you know, it really gets you revved up to do the best you can and be the best you can every day. I'm trying to think of some others. You know, anything John Maxwell writes or reads or speaks, everybody should just listen to, I believe. I'm trying to think of some others. That's a great question. I don't know.
Kind of a hard one for you. You guys have been a little busy.
We've been a little busy. We've been a little busy. Yeah.
Well, hey, another question. I guess so that everybody knows, what is your status right now? How can they visit you? Is it best to, can you set up an appointment?
Sure.
Is online best?
Sure.
What's the best way to reach you guys right
Awesome. Thank you for asking. So we are offering curbside service and still and private appointments in our jewelry department. So we've got kind of web chat set up. You may call the store while we're there. Any of those messaging, the private message to get the conversation started, and then our team that is there will reach out. Our coin department is open Monday through Friday, 10 to 4 right now. So there's some beautiful pictures of our stores. So our coin store is open Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, no appointment needed. If you've got questions about collections, so maybe, you know, I've got, you know, Aunt Kate's coin collection I really don't know what to do with, we do suggest you call the store and talk that through with their team before bringing it in. And for the jewelry department, any gifting needs you have, we've been super excited to help several people with engagement rings these last 2 weeks. I mean, I just can't, it's so exciting to see that. And we've done that mostly via chat and text messaging, video messaging, and some private appointments. So please reach out either via phone or through our website chat button, through Facebook chat, and we'll get back to you that way.
Awesome. Love it. Okay, so one thing I want to say, I just love the opening comment on Chris's part that he first started the business on April Fool's Day. I absolutely love that because these businesses are no joke. You guys have built such a presence, and thank you for all that you have done. We love working with you and Miss Chris as well. So
Yes.
Thank you for sharing your story today. This was awesome. Thanks again to Chris Tress, to Rob and his team. And I love how perfectly this fits into something else we've got going on at the Chamber. We had our annual dinner, which is an annual big event where we love to bring in a really inspirational speaker each year. And with COVID, we had to push that back a little bit. And as you all know, things have continued to progress a little bit in the restrictions of crowd sizes. And so I guess today you guys can be the very first people to hear the news that we are officially going to take that virtual. It was originally scheduled for June 4th, so it's still going to be on June 4th, but the theme around it is redefining impossible. And the speaker we're bringing in, his name is James Lawrence, and he is known as the Iron Cowboy because he ran 50 Ironmans, 50 days in a row in all 50 states, which just blows my mind and is beyond impossible. But that's the whole point, is that he's redefined impossible. And so with the whole dynamic of everything going on right now, I think businesses, big and small, you know, and then also in both our personal and our professional lives, we're all having to redefine impossible. So it's so amazing to see a business, a local business like yours, that's been doing that for 40 years and is just an outstanding example of someone who has been, you know, trudging through these transitions and coming out on top every time. And you guys just lead the way. So it's incredible to hear your guys' story. Again, thank you for your support of the Chamber. Thank you to everyone else who joined us today. Is there any other questions anybody wants to, you can unmute yourself or throw it in the chat box, whatever works. Anybody have any other final questions for these guys? All good.
This is so interesting. The story was just incredible. And I love how Chris was saying, if we're not having fun, it ain't worth doing, because, you know, that's so true. And you know, we spend a lot of time at our workplaces, and you're right. If we're not enjoying what we're doing, laughing and loving along the way, then, you know, why the heck are we doing it? So I love that.
And I
Yes.
see that
And
Chris
Chris,
has
looks
his
like your
hand.
hand is raised. You want to throw in some final comments
Yeah, I
there?
just want to thank you again for the opportunity for doing this. And I've told this story many times too. If it wasn't for Christine, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. I'd either have sold the store or, you know, do it, but whatever. She's the reason why I could walk away from the business for the most part, and not always, not 100%, but almost 100%. And on any given day, I rarely think about the business, to be honest with you, because I have so much confidence and trust in Christine and her abilities. And you know, it's you know, a thank you for all that is not nearly enough. And recently, I did compile a few pages of notes of what I consider a lot of my keys to success over the years. I'm sure most people know most of the things, but my idea is if somebody could pick up just one thing out of there that helps them, I would think that would be great. And if anybody wants a copy of that, just email me at chris@christophersfinejewelry.com. I'm sorry, chris@christophersjewelry.com. And I'll email you a copy. That's chris@christophersjewelry.com. And hopefully you can pick up something out of that that's helpful.
Awesome.
Well, maybe Chris, we can even, I don't know, it sounds like you have a lot of words of wisdom to share, and maybe we even attach that and share that with the broader community as well as this video, because, you know, any words of wisdom you can impart, I think we could all find very, very valuable.
Yeah, I'll just email that to Kara.
Love it.
Awesome.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, if we got this many takeaways just in an hour's time, I'm sure there's a whole lot more where that came from in a whole book. So thank you for sharing that as well. That's amazing. Okay. Well, thank you again. Thanks once again to Bankers Trust. Happy Tuesday, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Hope to see
Happy
you soon.
Tuesday.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you,
Thank
Bankers
you.
Trust, our sponsor.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Christine and
Bye-bye.
Chris. Amazing
Thank you.
job,
Great
Kara.
day.
Amazing.
See everyone soon.